Can I, bro?
Break.
May I? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalachalakaya Chakshurunlimitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadameyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Imam Vishnu Padaya.
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
Hebol. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Okay, so today we start chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So now we start to go through the yoga systems. Okay, Haribol. Text number 1. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam Cha Samshasi Yachreya Eta Yorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Sanyasam, renunciation, karmanam, of all activities, Krishna, O Krishna, Punaha, again, Yogam, devotional service, Cha, also, Shamsasi, you are praising, Yat which Shreya is beneficial, Etayo, of these two, Ekam, one, that, me, unto me, Bruhi, please tell, Sunishchitam, definitely. Translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which one of the two is more beneficial? So sometimes there's people that read Bhagavad Gita and then they only read this part, and they don't even read this part. But now Arjuna has heard the both parts and he is confused, or he's not really confused, but he's acting confused for our benefit. So then Krishna, he asks what to do. You've given two paths. Which one is for me? Which one is beneficial? What should I do? Purport. In this 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because, being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. In the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by Buddha Yoga or devotional service was also explained therein. In the 3rd chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion, and inaction in knowledge. Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyasam or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. So is the verse next? Okay, who wants to read next one?
I will read, bro. Shri Bhagavan Sannyasa Karma Yogasya Nishreyasya Karau Ubau Tayotu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of Godhead said, Sannyasaha, renunciation of work, Karma Yogaha, work in devotion, Cha also, Nihi, Shreyasa Karau, all leading to the path of liberation, Ubau, both, Tayoho, of the two, but Karma Sannyasat, in comparison to the renunciation of fruity work, Karma Yogaha, work in devotion, Vishishyate is better. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of works. Purport. Fruity active seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standards of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, therefore continuing material bondage perpetually. Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this as follows. Nunam pramutta कुरुते विकर्म यदीन्द्रिय कृताय आप्नोति न साधु मान्ये यतो आत्मनो यम आशानपि क्लेशदाशो देहाः पराभावस्तवा अबोधजातो यावन्न जिज्ञासतात्मत्वं यावत् क्रियस्तवादिदं मनो वै कर्मात्मकं येन शरीरो बन्धः एवं मना कर्म वशं प्रयुक्ते अविद्या यात्मनि उपाधि यामने प्रीतिर्ययावान् मयि वासुदेवे तामुच्यन्ते देहयोगेन तावत्. People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruity activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about the nature of work for fruitive results. For as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of bondage of material existence. Therefore, jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul, otherwise there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not our action on the fruity platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruity activities does not actually purify the art of conditioned soul. As long as the art is not purified, one has to work on the fruity platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruity action so that one not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as it is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prapanchikatya buddhyari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhihi paritrayo parityago vairagyam falgo katyate. Renunciation by persons eager to achieve liberation of things which are related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, though their material, is called incomplete renunciation. Renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything is in existence belong to the Lord, and that one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything in Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi of the Maya of the school. I will only continue, or anyone?
If no one else wants to continue, you can also read.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
You can continue, bro. You can continue. Next verse I can.
ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते. ज्ञेयः should be known, saha i nitya always, sannyasi renuncer, yaha u na never, dveshi dveshti abhors, na nor, kankshati desires, nirdvandvaha free from all dualities, e certainly, mahabaho o mighty armed one, sukham happily, bandhat from bondage, pramuchate completely liberated. Translation: one who neither eats nor desires the fruits of his activities known to be always renounced. Such a person liberated from all dualities easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty Arjuna. Purport: one who is fully in Krishna consciousness is always a renuncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for results of his actions. Such a renuncer dedicated to the transcendental loving service of the Lord is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in his relationship with Krishna. He knows fully well that Krishna is the all and is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because the part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality yet different in quantity is correct transcendental knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to nor lament over. There is no duality in mind because whatever it does for Krishna, because thus freed from the platform of dualities, liberated even in this material world.
Can I continue, bro? May I?
Yes, Prabhu, continue.
Thank you, bro. Sankhya yogyo prathag bala pravadanti na pandita ekam appe astitah samyag ubayor vindat vindate phalam. Sankhya, analytical analytical study of the material world. Yogya, work in devotional service. Pratak, different. Bala, less intelligence, less intelligent. Pravadanti, do talk. Na, never. Panditaha, the learned. Ekam, in one. Api, even though. Astitaha, being situated. Samyak, 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 complete. Ubhavayo, of both. Vedan, Vendite enjoys. Phalam, result. Translation. Only the ignorant speak of karma yoga and devotional service has been different from the analytical study of the material world. Sankhya, those who are actually learned, say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieve the result of both. Purport. The aim of the analytical study of the material world is to define the soul of existence. The soul of material world is Vishnu or the super soul. Devotional service to the Lord and entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the root of the tree and next to water the root. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two because the aim of the both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate end say that the purpose of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who is learned one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different process. Wants to continue?
Ribo, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yat sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sapashyati. Yat, what? Sankhyahi, by means of Sankhya philosophy. Prapyate is achieved. Sthanam, place. That. Yogai, by devotional service. Api, also. Gamyate, one can attain. Ekam, one. Sankyam, analytical study. Cha, and. Yogam, action in devotion. Cha, and. Yaha, one who. Pashyati, sees. Saha, he. Pashyati, actually sees. Translation. One who knows that the position reached by means of renunciation can also be attained by works in devotional service, and who therefore sees that the path of works and the path of renunciation are one, sees things as they are. Purport. The real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. By Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is actually in his constitutional position. In the first process of Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. However, detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this sees things as they are.
Hare Krishna.
Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. Haribol. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Can I read to?
Yes, Prabhu.
Sannyasyestu mahabhaho dukkhamapatuम ayogyata yoga yukte muni brahma nachirena adhigacchati. Sannyasa, the renounced order of life. 2. But Mahabaho, O mighty arm. 1. Dukkham, distress, aptum, to be afflicted with. Yoga hataha, without devotional service. Yoga yukta, one engaged is in devotional service. Muniha, thinker, Brahma, supreme. Na, without cinema delay. Adhigachati, attain. Translation. Unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sages purified by works or devotion achieve the supreme without delay. There are two classes of sannyasa present in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in in the study of Sankhya philosophy, wherever the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam's philosophy, which afford the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutra, but use their own commentary called Shank, Shankha Bhasha, written by Shankaracharya. Shankara Bhashya, written by Shankaracharya. The student of the Bhagavata school are engaged in devotional service of the Lord. The Vaishnava sannyasis have nothing to do with material activity, yet they perform various activities in the devotional service to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engaged in the studies of Sankhya and Vedanta and speculation cannot relish transcendental service of the Lord because their study become very tedious. They sometimes tired, ti- tired of Brahman speculation, and thus they take shelter of Bhagavatam without proper understanding. Consequently, their study of the Srimad Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculations and personal interpretation by artificial means are all useless of the Mayavadi sannyasis. The Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in the discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realizations, self-realization, and again enter into the material activities of the philanthropic and altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna consciousness are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in a simple Brahman speculation, although they too come to Krishna consciousness after many births. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Who else?
Prabhu, I'll continue, Prabhu.
Haribol. Yes, Prabhu.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyah sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurvanapi na lipyate. Yoga yukta, engaged in devotional service. Vishuddha atma, a purified soul. Vijita atma, self-controlled. Jita indriyaha, having conquered the senses. Sarva bhuta atma, compassionate to all living entities. Kurvan api, although engaged in work, na never. Lipyate is entangled. Translation: one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Purport: one who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the Krishna. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches, supplying food to the stomach. The energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, is very dear to everyone, and because everyone is satisfied by his work, is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled, and because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna, nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matter other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics related to Krishna. He does not like to hear anything which is not offered to Krishna. He does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone en masse. Why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because this is already been explained in the second chapter. All the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, only their dresses were changed by the order of Krishna was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. Like Krishna.
Haribol, thank you, Prabhu. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid pashyan srinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gacshan swapan shvasan pralapan visrajan grihnan unmishan nimishan api indriyartesu vartanta iti darayan. Na, never, eva, certainly, kinshit, anything, karomi, do I do, iti, thus, yuktaha, engaged in divine consciousness, manyata, thinks, tatvavit, who knows what tatvavit means?
The knower of all, right? I'm not wrong.
One who knows the truth. Pashyan, no, what
Oh, okay. One who knows the truth.
is Prabhu? Pashyan, by seeing, Shrinvan, by hearing, Sprishan, by touching, Jigran, by smelling, Ashnan, by eating, Gachan, by going, Swapan, by dreaming, Svashan, by breathing, Pralapan, by talking, Vishrajan, by giving up, Grihnam, by accepting, Unmishan, opening, Nimishan, closing, Api, in spite of, Indriyani, the senses, Indriyarte, so in sense gratification, Vartante, let them be so engaged, Iti, thus, Darayan, considering. What is this verse? By talking. Translation. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. So we are not the doer. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening, or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So Nimanita Prabhu explains this. He says sometimes that when we say we are walking or we are running or playing football or something, we are not actually running or walking. We are experiencing a walking body and we are experiencing a running body, but we are not doing that activity. We are there just experiencing the activity. And Krishna is the doer. He is who makes that activity happen. Even when we move our hand, we first demand the hand to move, and Krishna is the one who moves the hand, but we are just experiencing a moving hand. So this is how humanity.
Yes.
Actually, I don't understand what you said, Prabhu. Can you just repeat it again? Like, is it that first the soul has desires, and then the super soul controls the body? I don't understand. Can you just repeat it again?
1 second, someone trying to call. So what, Prabhu? What part?
No, you were saying that we are experiencing the body. Okay, that I understand because we are spirit, soul, and not the body. Just like a pen, we hold the pen, right? So just like that, we are experiencing the body moving, doing whatever.
Yes, Prabhu.
But for the body to move and the body to act, the desire is there for the soul to act,
Yes,
for the
Prabhu.
super soul sanctions. That means the super soul is the one who's acting,
Yes, Prabhu.
and we are just witnessing, or are we acting
No, we are
after
not.
the super soul?
Yes, the first explanation was right. That we are just experiencing the action that we demand, and the super soul is the one who acts. He is the who does the action, and we are just experiencing that action, and we think that we are doing the action.
So are we
Oh,
like in a
wow.
movie theater, you know, like
Yeah.
experiencing that movie, and
Yes,
Krishna is
Prabhu.
doing everything, but we're just observing.
Yes, Prabhu. And by your
Okay, thanks.
we can just do different demands, and sometimes the super soul makes those happen, and sometimes it goes against, but we can only by this free will we can only demand some things, and then
Oh, we are so subordinate, so
Yeah.
small. Yeah, so we can only like want something.
Yeah, man proposes and God disposes. So we only propose things. Can we do this? Could we? Can I eat it? We are not saying it, but by doing it, when we move the hand, we are actually it's happened so so quick.
Fast.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we can't imagine that how fast it happens.
But also daily, also I think that I'm doing things, and then I get reminded that don't you are not the doer. Why you think that you are doing this thing?
Oh, that's so. This is so deep. This, wow. This. Oh wow.
Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna consciousness is goes so deep in the. Yeah. Wow.
Did we start the? Oh yeah, let's read the purport. I think I didn't start it. A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence, and consequently, he has nothing to do with any work which depends upon five immediate and remote causes: the doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. This is because he is engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. There. Yes, here is the picture actually related to this. What are they? The doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. Remote causes. Okay, let's continue. But in this picture, I don't remember how they went. Yeah, here it's explained actually. Okay, let's read this. Endeavor means energy which is employed. For anything one does, there must be some activity. This is the endeavor. The place must be favorable. So the first is place. The doer, the man who is acting, must be expert. Here is the man who is acting. The instrument must be fit, and the help from the super soul must be adequate. These are the five factors of success, and opposite are the five causes for failure. So here, because Nimanita Prabhu explained this in the children's lecture so perfectly that when he explained, I really understood this picture, but I cannot explain it like he did. But yeah, here the different things are listed. I don't remember what these were because the person was buying sari for her wife, kinda. He was choosing the material, and there was one is the place, what kind of where he's buying it from. then is the senses, they are like what he's like seeing, and the person, and then here is then there is, yeah, I don't remember how he explained that one, but yeah, here is the, let's see, the place, the activity, the doer, the instruments, and the final cause is the super soul, and then he decides if the thing happens or not, doesn't happen. Oh, it's written here. Here a man is conducting business. If he goes to the marketplace, it will be very nice, since there are so many customers. Similarly, one looking for spiritual life goes to where there are devotees and associates with them. One must go to particular type of place for a particular type of activity, and the person acting must be well-versed or expert. Just like an expert salesman whose method of business is bona fide, the senses must be in order to guard against cheating. Here offers, etc. Above all is the help from Super Soul, who dictates in such a way that everything is successful, spiritually or materially. Among the 5 factors portrayed here, the endeavor is the business which is being conducted. Okay, let's continue. So I
Prabhu,
yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, like when the soul was demand, then the uh, uh, super soul will give the permission, and we do the activities if is it is it affects the experience senses to the soul.
Yes, Prabhu. So the super soul is the one who does the activity, and we just experience it happening. But we are not the doer of the activity. We are just observing the activity. So that was the point.
We are observing, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. First, we want to do something. For example, I want to move my hand. Then the super soul hears it, oh, he wants to move the hand, and then he moves the hand, and we think I moved the hand. But the hand was moving because super soul moved the hand, and we just experienced the hand move.
Yes, Prabhu. But I have a doubt. When we demand we have to do this work, that work. The senses is it senses effects on soul to demand like that.
Yes,
This and
that is one actor. See, here is this, it's one of the 5 acting, it's one of the things that cause the action. Is senses. See, here is the senses. But the super soul is the one who decides, because the sense is not the, we can demand with the senses, but the senses are not doing anything actually, because finally it's the super soul who does it.
okay, Prabhu.
But why does, I'm sorry to interrupt, but why does Krishna then allow, the sinful actions? I don't understand this. I think I'm confused.
Because it's same as he would allow the good action, the not sinful action, because we demand it, and sometimes it happens what we demanded, and sometimes it doesn't happen.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
But Krishna cannot touch, or whatever there is, he cannot touch our free will of deciding if we want to do something or don't want to do something.
Wow. Okay. Thank
So
you for clarification.
we are given different situations according to our karma and qualities, and then we get to decide what we do in that situation. Do we follow or do we not follow? And according to those decisions, new situations come. But the super soul is the one who is always deciding what happens with that action. Because even though the place of action,
Yes, Prabhu.
Are my choices even by my will or the super soul's will? Or how does it go? I wish
You have
something in super soul gives
you
me
have your
that.
mind. So you have your mind and your intelligence, and with this mind you make many plans. And when you demand
Yeah,
to,
stupid plant mostly.
because it goes with thinking, feeling, and willing. And when you come to the point of willing, that you decided, now I'm gonna do it, and this is how I'm gonna do it, then the super soul sanctions. But this thinking and feeling, it is just, then we have not yet decided to do something. So when we decide, and when it comes to the portion of willing, then the super soul sanctions. If these all are good, the performer is good, the senses are in line, the endeavor is good, there is no failure in the endeavor, the place of action is proper, then the super soul, he can sanction. But also, if these are not in line, if this doesn't seem proper, then if the super soul wants it to happen, it will happen anyways. So these don't really matter so much, because the super soul always decides if something will happen. Because, you know, even if something seems so impossible, everything is like, that won't happen, but still things like that can happen if the super soul decides that that thing will happen.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you
Prabhu,
for
but
clarification. Very, very good. Thank you.
Prabhu, like um, like for the cause is like we the main thing was like census. The census will attract and they will demand. Like no, Prabhu.
The senses are like, they're like, because the senses are not living. They are not, they senses don't do anything. They're like, what is the word?
Tools,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, mikähän se on? Tiedätkö, vähän niin kuin joku lämpömittari tai tällainen. Että ne on niin kuin vaan sellaisia indikaattoreita.
Thermometer or something like that.
Yeah, these senses, they're just like, you can just, they're like microphone, you know? Microphone takes sound, but the microphone itself is not living. It doesn't do anything. The speaker who speaks into the microphone, he's the doer, and the sound waves are the things that are doing, but the microphone itself is not doing anything. It's just recording. So these senses act in the same way. The hearing is just like microphone, because it hears and it records what it's, but the microphone itself is not doing anything, and the hearing itself is not doing anything. But with the microphone we can hear the thing better, and with the ear also we can hear the thing better, because if we didn't have ear, then we couldn't hear something. But because of this, we have this tool to use, but the tool itself is not like doing anything, because it's the doer who moves the tool.
Prabhu, like I understand that when will we demand that God will sanction? But I have doubt like uh, for demanding like good one is okay, but we demand like mm, bad habits or sinful habits. Then then our senses is attract, no, Prabhu, like for anything bad habits or like sinful. Good one is okay, that God will sanction, and for bad habits also God will sanction. But the thing was the for bad habits the senses or the senses for major, no, Prabhu. Like it will attracts and it will demands for us, and then God will sanctions, Prabhu.
Hmm. I I only understand the part that the, I can explain, because I'm not sure if I understood the question right. So
Okay, Prabhu, I am asking that like good one. If like Krishna consciousness, the senses will for Krishna consciousness, this soul was happy, so we are attract, and God will sanction.
Yes, the senses
Bad habits, bad habits also,
senses
the
automatically
senses.
go towards a sense object. So they just like there is river, just like river flows. So automatically these senses they go towards sense gratification. So that's why we need to try to fine tune the senses by controlling them with this chanting process, so that we get the senses to only pick Krishna conscious things, that they won't go to the unwanted things. But if we don't control, automatically the senses will always go to the unwanted things. So that's how the senses.
I got it, Prabhu. I got it,
There is
Prabhu.
a
Thank
verse
you so much,
about this.
Prabhu.
There is a verse about this, that the senses go towards sense objects. There is a verse, but I don't have it in notes.
Yes, so it's about
Yes, Prabhu.
automatically without restriction.
Yeah.
Everyone is inclined to meet eating delicious and stumbling and intoxication. That one, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Mm, yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I got it.
Thank you all, Prabhu. Thank you so much. You brought me back from. I'm very in a bad situation, so thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Here is
Really,
one.
thank you,
All good.
Jai Shri Prabhu.
Krishna.
So here is one nice verse. Translation.
Okay.
When one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost, like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass troughs on its bank. So yes, the mind and senses, they are always attracted by the sense objects for enjoyment. And
Okay,
because of that,
Prabhu.
see,
But
then the mind becomes agitated. And when the mind becomes agitated, it starts to demand bad things from the super soul. It demands, oh, I want to drink, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then the super soul will sanction those things. But it happens because of the senses get attracted because of sense objects. And that is what causes the mind to become agitated. And when mind is agitated, then it goes here
then,
and there demanding everything.
oh, super, Prabhu, super explanation.
Yes, probably. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects. Yes, that is when we start to think about different objects, then
Okay,
it starts
okay,
to get agitated.
Is that, for example, like beer? Thinking of beer,
Yes, probably anything.
is that that sense object?
Yeah, that is also sense object.
So it's the
Also
object.
some
Yeah,
activities.
my mind is getting this, is creating some kind of addiction or attraction to that object.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, and then mind becomes
And then comes
agitated.
the action. Oh,
okay.
accident and action comes after that.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
I
Okay,
did
thank you.
like flow, like if first thing was like sense controlling the senses. So if not control the senses by chanting of Hare Krishna, then the mind will agitated and demands, and
Yes, Prabhu.
uh, and that God will and that goes like we willing to do that action. So that action goes to Supreme Lord, and that Supreme Lord decide where we have to, they, I mean, so Supreme Soul the sanction or not. Okay,
Yes,
that's
Prabhu.
so.
And there is,
Okay, thank you.
in even 1 second, there is so many decisions that the super soul sanctions. Because we move hands, we do everything. We move head. I'm speaking also. I'm demanding the words that I'm, because we are not the doer ourselves. I'm demanding to speak this word and that word, and then the super soul is giving the word. Similarly, when I move my hand, super soul is giving the movement for the hand when I want to do the movement. So it happens so quickly. It's faster than any computer or anything that we can imagine.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay.
That's wow.
Yeah, this
Prabhu,
part really
another
well.
one like okay. Very nice explanation, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you
Can
so
we
much.
read this? Prabhu, can you read this purport?
Okay, Prabhu. Thanks so much. In this verse, it is very easily, very nicely explained how our original Krishna consciousness becomes polluted, and we gradually become almost completely forgetful of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. In a previous verse, it is recommended that we should always keep in touch with the devotion service of the Lord, so that the blazing fire of devotion service can gradually burn into ashes material desires, and we can become liberated from the reputations of the birth and death. This is also how we can indirectly keep our stunned faith in the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the mind is allowed to think of sense gratification, sense gratification continuously, it becomes the cause of our material bondage. Okay. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification.
Yes, Prabhu.
If one takes
This is one important point. This that if the mind is always filled with sense gratification, even though we do things like chanting and this, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. So the mind needs to be it needs to be emptied out of this sense gratification.
okay, I understand, Prabhu. Now, the main thing was for mind there will only Krishna consciousness is want, no, Prabhu. If
Yes, Prabhu.
sense is there, then the sense gratification will flow, no,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. The more one thinks about the sense gratification, even not doing, but if one just thinks over and over again, then he cannot, even though he does chanting and everything, because he keeps thinking about those things over and over again, he cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. He needs to simultaneously one chants and does devotional activities. He needs to try to get the mind back from thinking about sense objects to back to Krishna conscious activities.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay, next, can I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Where from where, Prabhu, that is?
Here,
Uh,
if one takes up the sun.
of the sannyasa order of life but is not able to control the mind, he will think of objects of sense gratification, okay, namely family, society, expensive houses, etc. Even though he goes to the Himalayas or the forest, his mind will continue thinking of the objects of sense gratification. In this way, gradually one's intelligence will be affected. When intelligence is affected, one loses his original taste for Krishna consciousness. Prabhu, like it comes to intelligence, can you tell that like can you explain this line? In this way, gradually one's intelligence will be affected.
Yes, Prabhu. When one uses the mind for sense objects, then the mind starts to use the intelligence how to get those. Then instead of the intelligence using the mind for how to do something for Krishna, the mind starts to use the intelligence on how to enjoy. So the mind becomes the master of the soul.
Okay, for mind, that intelligence is the master.
Yes, Prabhu. But if sometimes it happens so that the mind gets the control of the intelligence, then it becomes dangerous because then the intelligence will help the mind to create all kinds of sense enjoyment.
Okay, Prabhu, like if intelligence is the main cause for the mind, okay, if we develop the intelligence from Krishna consciousness,
Yes, Prabhu.
then the mind mind will control sense
Yes,
gratification, will control all.
yes. Then the intelligence will use the mind in creating better and better things to do for Krishna. Like, for example, video editing. Then the intelligence will use the mind on how to create better videos instead of how to scroll some or something, how to do some nonsense.
Okay, I now got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and
In
when
this way,
intelligence is affected, one loses the original taste for Krishna consciousness. So keeping the intelligence sharp is because this intelligence, as we yesterday said, it is compared to a sword, and we need to sharpen the sword. And if the sword of intelligence gets unsharp, if it gets like it doesn't break anything, it doesn't cut anymore, then one loses his original taste for Krishna consciousness. So reading books is really important to always rejuvenate this intelligence again and again.
okay, now when intelligence is great, intelligence is improved, then the sense gratification will cut. Okay, that's the thing. No, bro. The example given here is very appropriate. If a big lake is covered all around by long kusak grasses, okay, uh, just like columns, and the waters dry up. Similarly, when the big columns of material desires increases, the clear water of consciousness is dried up. Therefore, this column of kusha grass should be cut or thrown away from the beginning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed that if from the very beginning we do not take care of unwanted grass in the paddy fields, the filterizing agents or water will be used by them, and the paddy plants will dry up. The material desires for sense gratification, sense enjoyment is the cause of our fall down in this material world, and those we suffer the threefold miseries and uh, continuous birth and death, old age and disease. However, if we turn our desires towards the transcendent loving service of the Lord, our desires become purified. We cannot kill desires. We have to purify them of different destination. If we constantly think of him, constantly think of being a member of a particular nation, society, or family, and continuously thinking about them, we become very strongly entangled in the conditioned life of birth and death. But if our desires are applied to the service of the Lord, then they become purified, and those we become immediately freed from material. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Yes, Prabhu.
Material contamination.
Is this
Okay.
purport explain this nicely?
Okay, bro. Very nice, bro. Thank you so much. Bro, I have another question, little small question, that if unknowingly our intelligence is not there in for what we can tell, if intelligence is bewildered and intelligence of so poor, and we continue that only, and for 25 years or 30 years after we know this knowledge, then the intelligence will uh, filled with bad habits. How to cut that, Prabhu?
I think that is easiest it's done in the association of devotees, because alone it's not so possible.
Okay, Prabhu.
because it happens automatically with devotees. When we are, the more there is devotees and the less there is material association, the more this cutting happens automatically.
Oh yes, Prabhu.
Because with
Okay.
devotees, we don't usually think about sense objects much, because in that atmosphere, there is no reason to think about sense objects. So then we usually just think about the service and what we're going to do with the devotees, what is the temple program, what services are there,
Okay.
things like this. So then automatically the mind gets cleansed because it doesn't think anymore about the dirty things and it gets purified.
Okay, Prabhu. Now I got it, Prabhu. Very nice explanation. Thank you so much.
And Bhagavad Gita 6:26. It's about controlling the mind, that from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So this under the control of the self means under the control of Krishna. So back to the orders that there is, back to sadhana. So
Okay, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the... Okay.
because even in advanced stage, you know, the mind will continue sometimes to go in, because there might be still come some sexual desires or something like this, but the person is not agitated anymore. It, even though some thought like that might come, he can just withdraw himself from that back to the Krishna conscious thought. So it doesn't affect him anymore. Even because, you know, this, the mind does this always. It goes, it's flickering and unsteady. But the difference is that one learns how to not act on the mind. Because now we think that the mind is us. And when the mind says do this, do that, we think that it's ourselves wanting that thing. But when we learn to realize that this mind is not us, then we learn to say no to the mind. And when it says that do this or do that, then we can, when it goes like in a flickering way, an unsteady nature, doing some things, then we can point it out and we can bring it back and withdraw it back under the control of the self.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. I understand, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, I think your charge is like
Oh yes,
two,
Prabhu.
so you can connect charge.
It's pretty late here in India. I'll reach after maybe 1 more hour.
Or are you soon there?
Sorry, yeah, it'll take 1 more hour, I think so.
Yes, Prabhu.
So yeah, right. I'll reach by like 12,
Yes,
and
Prabhu.
then I'll eat something. I'll eat some prashadam and go to sleep. I think that's what I'll do.
Revolve. Yeah,
Thank
here.
you so much.
Yogi has to control the mind should not control him. Terrible. Now I read this purport. This is because he engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting with his body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement. In material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification. But in Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in the satisfaction of Krishna's senses. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is always free, even though he appears to be engaged in things of the senses. Activities such as seeing, hearing, speaking, evacuating, etc. are actions of the senses meant for work. A Krishna conscious person is never affected by the actions of the senses. A Krishna conscious person is never affected by the actions of the senses. He cannot perform any act except in the service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. See here, when one is high in knowledge, when the knowledge is, the sword of knowledge is properly made sharp, then...
Yes, Prabhu, I understand, Prabhu, this one.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Well, okay, now let's go to six as the compares.
Yes, Prabhu.
Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावादू जीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण संकीर्तनम्. हरि बोल. नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पितानि अमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवम् ईदृशम् इहा जानिनानुरागः.
तृणादेपि निजेन तरोरपि शैलेन अमाद्येन कीर्तनेया सदा हरि.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि.
Scroll, bro, scroll.
Oh, it's coming late, I think.
Okay. ऐनन्द तनुजकिङ्करं पतितां मां वशी मे भवबुधौ कृपा तव पादपङ्कजा सितदूले श्रद्धश्रं विचिन्तया.
Nayanam galadashrudaraya. Oh, yes, Prabhu, you can continue.
नयनं गदलं सुधारया वदनं गद्गदा हृदय गिरा पुलकैर्निचिन्तं वपु कदा तव नामग्रहणे भविष्यति युगे युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा चक्षुषा परवर्ष्यतं शून्यहितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दं विरहेण मे.
Ashlishya Papa.
Ashishya
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, continue.
Continue, continue.
Carry on.
Okay, thank you. Vapadaratam pinastu mam adarshanam maram hatam karutu va yata tata va vidatu lampato mat prananasthas tu sa eva napraha.
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and those you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. These are not chanting names. One my Lord, oh my Lord, of the kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attention for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no
Almighty
desire to appreciate wealth, nor do I desire to be ruler, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want the God's devotion to service to adapt the
O son of Maharaj Ananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. You ate some or other. I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this consciousness of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda,
Oh.
feel patient. I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally.
हरि बोल श्री शिकाष्टकम की जाए हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाए पंचतत्व की
Jai,
जाए
Jai,
नित्यानंद प्रभु की जाए
Jai,
जगत गुरु श्री भक्तिवेदांत
Jai,
स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जाए
Bhakti Jai,
जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि
Hari,
हरि
Hari.
Oh, Hari.